If you just stop and think about a single interaction with healthcare, maybe something simple like getting a referral or some lab work done, even just checking in, the amount of data, structured and unstructured, that gets generated is, well, it's kind of mind-boggling.
It really is. We're talking everything from, your medical history, stretching back years, to the very specific codes for today's visit, the exact time someone made an entry in your file.
Right, and then eventually how they justify the cost for all of that. It's a huge amount of information.
Exactly. It's this massive, almost invisible infrastructure behind the scenes. Most people, and rightly so, they focus on the clinical side, the doctor, the nurse, what's happening right there. But backing all that up is this incredibly sophisticated system. It's logistical, it's informational, and its job is managing every single bit of that data.
And that management isn't just about the immediate care, is it? It's bigger than that.
Oh, much bigger. It's about patient safety, yes, and quality of care, absolutely. But it's also about the financial health of the organization, the legal compliance, the whole operational side. It all hinges on how that data is managed.
Yeah, you often don't notice this architecture until, something breaks. Or maybe you notice your doctor seems to be clicking away more than actually looking at you.
That's a common frustration, yeah.
So today, that's what we're diving into. We're looking deep into this architecture. Our goal here is to take this complex World Health Information Management, health informatics, all those acronyms like HIM, EHR, HIPAA, CPT, even AI now, and just make it really clear, really concrete for you.
We've pulled together materials that really lay out the core ideas in this field. It's a demanding area.
Definitely.
So this deep dive, it's about understanding what the professionals who handle this data actually do, how the money side works, the revenue cycle that runs on these records, and what part technology, especially advanced tech, plays in getting the right information to the right place at the right time.
Think of it as your essential guide to the hidden plumbing of modern healthcare.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. The absolute foundation. That's the profession itself. Health Information Management, or HIM. When we talk about making sure healthcare data is good quality, secure, handled right, HIM is where it all starts.
That's spot on. Health Information Management, it's technically an allied health profession, and it's built entirely around governing and managing the health record, the actual record itself, and all the data and information packed inside it.
And these aren't just, file clerks, right? Their role is much more significant.
Oh, absolutely not clerical. It's about data integrity. It's about regulatory compliance. It's a highly skilled role.
You said their mandate is foundational. That means the quality of their work affects everything else down the line, like diagnosis, billing, everything.
Precisely. Everything rests on it. Our sources really hammer home 4 key things, 4 critical attributes that HIM professionals have to guarantee for every single patient record. And these are worth really focusing on for a moment.
Okay, what are they? They're basically the pillars holding the whole thing up. Availability, accuracy, confidentiality, and security.
Right. Availability, accuracy, confidentiality, security. Let's unpack those a bit. What happens if one fails?
Well, a failure in any one isn't just a minor hiccup. It could mean breaking the law, or worse, harming a patient. Take availability. If the record simply isn't there when the doctor needs it, maybe the system's down, maybe the data's stuck in some old system that doesn't talk to the new one.
Yeah, a silo.
Exactly, a data silo. Then the clinician can't make a fast, informed decision. That breaks the continuity of care, potentially right when it matters most.
Okay, and accuracy. That seems obvious, but maybe it's more complex.
It's crucial. The record must be 100% accurate. Think about it. A small mistake in noting down a medication history or getting an allergy wrong, that could lead to a really serious adverse event for the patient.
Yeah, absolutely critical. And the other 2 pillars, confidentiality and security, they feel closely related.
They are, but distinct. They really speak to that trust, that legal and ethical bond between the patient and the provider. Without strong confidentiality, patients won't trust the system. Especially with sensitive stuff like mental health info or addiction treatment history, trust just evaporates. And security is more the technical side. It's the firewalls, the encryption, the access controls, all the things that physically protect the data from hackers or anyone who shouldn't see it.
So HIM professionals are managing all 4 of those aspects constantly.
That's the job, that holistic management. And the ultimate point of all this effort, the real purpose, is to assure the quality and the continuity of patient care. Because, as we'll see, the clinical decisions doctors make and whether the hospital gets paid, it all comes back to whether that information in the health record is reliable.
Okay, I get the goal, but let me push back a little here. If maintaining these four pillars, especially accuracy and availability, is so incredibly important, why do we hear so many doctors complaining about, documentation burnout, clicking boxes, spending hours on the computer? Doesn't that suggest the system is kind of failing the people using it?
That's a really important point and a huge real-world challenge. The tension exists because that patient record isn't just for the next doctor.
Right.
It's also a legal document, and it's a billing tool. So the need to substantiate care to prove exactly why something was done, often for payment reasons, means you need incredibly detailed, structured data.
So doctors feel like they're feeding the billing machine, not just taking care of patients.
Sometimes, yes, they feel they're documenting for the coder or the auditor rather than just for clinical continuity. And HIM professionals are often caught in the middle, trying to design workflows that capture all that necessary detail without completely overwhelming the doctors and nurses.
That makes a lot of sense. The
Yeah.
record has to wear multiple hats, essentially. So, okay, what actually is this health record then? When we say patient story, it's not just a single narrative file, is it? It sounds like a very structured collection of different pieces.
It absolutely is. It's a collection of specific, defined parts, all designed to piece together that complete picture. The sources we looked at detail 7 key components that, legally and clinically, really make up that record.
Okay, let's list them out. I think this helps make it concrete, shows how structured it all has to be. First up, you mentioned something called the Master Patient Index, or MPI.
Yes, the MPI. Think of it as the administrative bedrock. It's the unique, permanent ID number for every single patient who has ever received care at that facility or system.
Like a social security number, but just for that health system.
Sort of, but its main job is ensuring you're always linked to the right record. It's absolutely critical for preventing duplicate records, which is a surprisingly huge problem, especially in big hospital systems. Getting the MPI right is a major HM task.
Okay, cornerstone established. Then we get into the clinical story itself, starting with the history and physical, the H&P.
Right, the H&P. That's the detailed rundown, the patient's condition, their background, what the doctor found when they were admitted or first seen. It sets the stage.
And if there was surgery.
Then you need the operative report. If a procedure happened, this report is essential. You can argue it's one of the most legally sensitive documents in the whole record.
Why is that?
Because it's the blow-by-blow account of the surgery. What they found, what they did, pre-op diagnosis, post-op diagnosis, everything. It's vital for legal defense if something goes wrong, and it's absolutely required for correct billing for the surgery.
Makes sense. Okay, so beyond what the doctors write, the record needs objective evidence too, right? Like lab tests.
Exactly. Those fall under ancillary reports. These are crucial pieces of objective data. We're talking lab results, pathology reports from tissue samples, microbiology, detailed readings of X-rays or CT scans.
All the supporting evidence.
Precisely. They provide the clinical proof that supports the doctor's thinking and decision-making.
Then you mentioned 2 other things focused on managing care over time.
Yes. The problem lists. This is basically a running tally of the patient's ongoing diagnoses and chronic conditions. It lets anyone looking at the record quickly grasp the big picture and helps plan care long term.
Like a quick reference guide.
Kind of, yeah.
Yep.
And then there are the physician orders. This is the log of everything that was actually ordered for the patient: medications, treatments, tests, procedures during their stay or visit.
Okay. And the last piece you mentioned reflects the digital age.
Right, the patient portals. Now, legally, the information that you, the patient, can see through your online portal, that's officially considered part of your health record. It closes the loop, brings the patient into their own record keeping in a way.
So all these different pieces, MPI, H&P, op report, ancillary problems, orders, portal access, they all feed into this big digital structure that everyone uses now, the electronic health record, or EHR.
Correct. And the definition highlights a key aspect. It's a longitudinal electronic record, meaning it tracks your health information over time.
Not just one visit.
No, ideally generated across multiple encounters, maybe even in different places, like your primary care doctor and the hospital.
So what's its main job? Communication.
Communication is huge, yes. Making sure everyone involved in your care has the same up-to-date information. But just as importantly, the EHR has to substantiate the care given, provide the proof. It needs to support medical decision-making, giving doctors the data they need. And as we're about to get into, it's fundamentally linked to getting paid, to financial reimbursement.
So the integrity of that EHR, it's not just about good medicine, it's about the entire healthcare business.
It really is. The whole multi-billion-dollar U.S. healthcare economy, in many ways, rests on the quality and reliability of the data within those EHRs.
Okay, so let's make that pivot. We've established the record itself, its components, its importance for care and legality. Now let's follow the money. How does all this meticulously documented information, the diagnosis, the procedure, actually result in the hospital or clinic getting paid? Let's unpack this. How does this data actually trigger reimbursement?
Right. That whole process is what we call the revenue cycle, and it's a very specific multi-step journey. The definition is basically the process of patient financial and health information moving into, through, and out of the healthcare organization, with the end goal being that the organization receives payment for the services they provided. It is quite literally the financial lifeblood of the place.
And it sounds like the quality of that HIM we just discussed, the accuracy, the completeness of the record, is step one for a healthy revenue cycle. Bad record, no money.
That's exactly it. If the documentation is incomplete or inaccurate or doesn't support the claim gets denied, and the revenue cycle breaks down right there. Lost income.
So how does the cycle work? Can we break it down?
We can generally think of it in three main phases. There's the pre-service stuff, like checking your insurance eligibility, getting authorizations before you even show up. Then there's time of service. That's when the care happens, and critically, when the documentation and coding happen.
Ah, coding. That's the translation part.
Precisely. And then there's post-service, submitting the claim, getting the payment back, handling any denials or follow-up. But that middle part, time of service, is where the medical narrative gets translated into standardized codes that insurance companies and government payers like Medicare understand. And this relies on two key, very distinct coding systems.
Okay, let's start with describing what the doctor or hospital did, the procedure. What code set is that?
That would be CPT, which stands for Current Procedural Terminology, 4th edition, or CPT-4 usually.
CPT.
CPT is the language for actions, for procedures. It's this huge, comprehensive list of medical terms and codes that classify pretty much any diagnostic or therapeutic procedure done in the U.S.
Give me an example.
Okay. If a doctor spends, say, 30 minutes counseling a patient on managing their diabetes, there's a specific CPT code for that counseling time. If a surgeon does a complex knee replacement, there's a very specific CPT code for that exact surgery. Sometimes they even add little 2-digit modifiers to give more detail, like which side of the body.
Wow, okay, so CPT covers what was done.
Yeah.
What about the why? The diagnosis?
Right, you need both. The Y is covered by a different system, ICD-10-CM, that stands for the International Classification of Diseases, 10th Revision, Clinical Modification.
ICD-10-CM, that's specifically for the diagnosis code.
Correct. And the history here is important. ICD-10-CM replaced an older system, ICD-9-CM, back on October 1st, 2015. That date is burned into the memory of anyone in HIM.
I bet. That transition sounded like a nightmare from the outside. Was it really that big a deal? It perfectly illustrates how this field gets more complex over time, right?
Oh, it was a monumental undertaking, an administrative marathon, truly. Think about it. The old system, ICD-9, had maybe 14,000 codes. Manageable, but often not very specific. When the U.S. finally switched to ICD-10-CM, the number of possible codes just exploded, jumped to over 68,000 codes.
Wow. Why so many?
Specificity. ICD-10 codes are built differently. They can capture much more detail about what's wrong, the exact type of fracture, whether it's the left arm or the right arm, if this is the first time the patient's being seen for it, or a follow-up visit. Much more granular data.
I remember hearing some funny examples back then, like specific codes for injuries involving like getting hit by a duck or walking into a lamppost or injuries happening on the spacecraft.
Chuckles. Yeah, there were some seemingly odd ones that got a lot of press, but even those underscore the goal. Capture the circumstance and specific nature of the injury or illness with incredible detail.
And that detail isn't just for laughs or curiosity.
Not at all. That level of specificity is vital for tracking public health trends, for epidemiology, for research, and critically for making sure that the payment matches the complexity of the patient's condition and the services needed. Training everyone, doctors, nurses, coders, to use this massively expanded code set correctly and auditing it. It was a huge lift, but it ultimately gave the whole healthcare system much richer, more useful data.
Okay, so we have CPT for the procedure, ICD-10-CM for the hyperspecific diagnosis, but just having the codes isn't enough to get paid, right? They have to connect logically.
Exactly. You can't just bill for brain surgery if the diagnosis is a scraped knee. That connection, that justification, brings us to a really crucial checkpoint in the revenue cycle. Medical necessity.
Medical necessity. Define that for us.
Medical necessity is the linchpin. It's often where claims succeed or fail. The basic definition is healthcare services or supplies have to be required to diagnose or treat an illness, injury, condition, disease, or its symptoms, and they must meet the standard of care.
So the what you did,
Mhm.
CPT, has to be justified by the what's wrong ICD-10.
Precisely. If an insurance payer looks at the claim and decides that the service you provided, represented by the CPC code, was more than what was reasonably needed for the diagnosis you submitted, the ICD-10 code, they'll deny the claim, no payment.
Can you give a concrete example? Maybe a high-stakes one where this goes wrong?
Sure, happens all the time. Let's say a patient presents with some knee pain. The surgeon performs a very complex, expensive arthroscopic surgery that gets a high-level CPT code.
Okay.
But then the HAME professional, the coder, looks back at the doctor's notes, the history and physical we talked about, and the documentation only says something vague, like mild knee pain, and gives a diagnosis code for a minor sprain.
Uh-oh.
Oh, is right. The insurance company gets that claim. Their computer flags it instantly. They'll say, wait a minute, a minor sprain doesn't justify this complex, costly surgery. Claim denied. Why? Because the documentation and the record fail to demonstrate the medical necessity for that expensive procedure.
Wow. That really underscores the role of the HIM professional. They aren't just data entry clerks, they're acting like internal auditors, constantly checking if the story told in the clinical notes actually backs up the codes being sent out for payment.
It's exactly that. It's a high-stakes translation job happening constantly. Millions, even billions of dollars in hospital revenue literally depend on getting that translation right day in and day out based on the quality of the underlying record.
And because this information is so valuable, so sensitive, and it has to move between systems for payment and care, that necessitates a really strong legal framework to control it all.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the digital guardian watching over all this data flow.
Okay, this is where, for me, it gets really fascinating. We've established just how sensitive this health information is and how financially valuable it is. So who is watching the watchers? How is patient privacy actually guaranteed when we're dealing with the data about diagnoses, genetics, past treatments? I mean, this has got to be the highest level of confidentiality needed.
It absolutely is. And the framework for that in the U.S. is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, universally known as HIPAA.
HIPAA. Everyone's heard of it. Probably signed forms about it.
Right. And while it feels like it's only about privacy now, HIPAA was originally passed to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the healthcare system overall. A big part of that was standardizing electronic transactions, like billing.
Ah, interesting. So it wasn't just about privacy initially.
No, the portability part was about making sure you could keep your health insurance if you changed jobs. The accountability part covered privacy and security. But its most enduring legacy, especially for HIM folks, is definitely how it governs the control and flow of patient information.
And that control, it's broken down into specific rules, right? It's not just one vague idea.
Correct. There are two really critical components that dictate how protected health information, PHI, is handled every day. And people often mix them up.
Okay, let's clarify them. What's the first one?
First, there's the privacy rule. This rule sets the national standards for protecting individual identifiable health information. It's all about who is allowed to access patient information and under what specific circumstances it can be used or disclosed.
So who gets to see what and why?
Exactly. A key concept here is the minimum necessary standard. Basically, if someone needs access to PHI to do their job, they should only get access to the minimum amount necessary for that specific task.
Like the coder example. They need the diagnosis for billing, but maybe not the patient's entire life story or mental health notes.
Precisely. The privacy rule governs those kinds of disclosures and uses and patient consent for them.
Okay, so privacy rule, disclosure, and consent. What's the other big piece?
That's the security rule. While the privacy rule is about who and why, the security rule is about how you protect the data itself, specifically electronic protected health information, or EPHI.
So this is the tech side.
Exactly. The security rule lays out the required technical safeguards. Things like access controls passwords, user authentication, encryption standards for data both when it's stored and when it's being sent, audit trails to see who accessed what, when. It's the cybersecurity aspect of IPA.
So a privacy rule violation might be like an employee gossiping about a patient's diagnosis.
Yes, or maybe sending records to the wrong person.
Whereas a security rule violation might be more like a hospital getting hacked because their patient database wasn't properly encrypted.
Correct. A failure of those technical safeguards. Both are serious HIPAA violations with potentially huge fines and reputational damage.
It's clear HIPAA provides that strong, federally mandated framework for both security and privacy. But you mentioned earlier it wasn't just about locking things down, it was also meant to make information flow better in some ways.
That's right, particularly by setting up standards for electronic transmission. Before HIPAA, imagine a hospital trying to send electronic bills to dozens of different insurance companies. Each insurer might have had their own unique proprietary format. It was chaos.
A nightmare, I bet.
Totally. HIPAA mandated standardized electronic formats for things like claim submission, eligibility checks, payment remittances. That standardization dramatically cut down administrative waste and actually sped up the revenue cycle we talked about earlier.
Okay, so we have these incredibly detailed records protected by HIPAA's privacy and security rules and standardized for electronic exchange.
Ah,
But for a patient's care to be truly seamless, that data can't just stay locked up inside one hospital system, right? Especially if you see doctors in different places. The data needs to move.
it absolutely has to move. And that brings us to another critical concept, interoperability.
Interoperability, what does that mean in this context?
Interoperability is essentially the ability of different health information systems, different software, different databases, to work together seamlessly.
To talk to each other.
To talk to each other, yes, but more than that. It means the system receiving the data can actually understand it, interpret it, and use it meaningfully right away, regardless of which system sent it.
Can you give an analogy?
Think of it like ensuring different computer programs can all open and edit the same document perfectly without losing formatting or information. In healthcare, it means making sure the language spoken by the hospital's lab system is perfectly understood by the EHR system at your outpatient clinic, and maybe even by the system at your pharmacy.
And the benefit of that working well,
Hmm.
especially when a patient moves between, say, a hospital and a rehab center.
Oh, it's absolute fundamental for good, safe continuity of care. Let's
Yeah.
use that example. A patient gets stabilized in a busy ER after an accident. Then they're transferred to a specialized rehab facility across town.
Okay.
That rehab facility needs immediate access to everything from the ER, the doctor's discharge summary, the final list of medications, all those ancillary reports labs, imaging. If the hospital system and the rehab system aren't interoperable,
Then what happens? Fax machines.
often, yes. Or someone has to manually re-enter all that critical data. That introduces delays, risks transcription errors, potentially catastrophic mistakes. True interoperability means the rehab facility gets that data electronically, instantly, securely, in a format their system understands. It ensures the right information is available, safely, when needed.
And this kind of sharing, this interoperability, it's often managed through something called a health information exchange, or HIE.
Correct. HIEs are often the infrastructure that makes interoperability happen on a larger scale. Think of an HIE as a secure digital network, often organized regionally or statewide.
Like a trusted third party?
In a way, it provides the framework, the rules, the technical standards that allows different healthcare organizations, hospitals, clinics, labs within that network to share patient information securely with each other.
So my doctor at Clinic A could potentially pull up my records from Hospital B instantly.
Potentially, yes, if both are part of the same HIE and the doctor has the right permissions, meeting all the security and privacy requirements, of course. The HIE is the underlying infrastructure that aims to connect the whole ecosystem, making sure that your health story can follow you securely and accurately wherever you need care.
Okay, so we've built up this picture. Health Information Management, HIM, is about the governance and integrity of the record, making sure it's right, safe, and available. Now let's shift gears slightly. Let's talk about moving beyond just managing the data to actively using it in strategic ways. That sounds like the territory of health informatics.
Exactly. If HIM is the guardian of the data, health informatics is focused on turning that data into actionable knowledge, into intelligence. It's a truly interdisciplinary field.
How so?
It merges information technology, clinical science, data analytics, and even organizational management. The whole point is to figure out the most effective ways to use patient data, biomedical data, all this information and knowledge we're collecting.
To do what exactly? What are the goals?
It's really about optimizing the healthcare system, moving beyond just making sure the documentation is correct for billing and into things like predictive modeling, clinical decision support, using the data proactively.
So if HIM ensures the data quality, informatics focuses on maximizing the data's impact. What are some of those high-level impacts or goals informatics aims for?
Well, the sources lay out some ambitious ones. First, A major goal is to improve patient outcomes while, importantly, lowering costs. Finding efficiencies, reducing waste, identifying best practices through data analysis,
Better care, less money. The holy grail.
pretty much. Second, informatics directly targets increasing patient safety and promoting high-quality services. You can use the structured data collected to spot trends in safety events, identify potential risks before they happen, streamline treatment protocols based on evidence.
Using data to learn and improve safety. Makes sense. And the third goal?
The third is about feeding the engine of medical discovery. Informatics supports scientific inquiry, problem-solving, and better medical decision-making overall. By analyzing these huge standardized data sets that HIM has curated,
Right.
researchers can identify which treatments actually work best for specific types of patients, turning all that individual patient data into broader medical knowledge that benefits everyone.
Now, to actually do this kind of high-level analysis, you need the right tools. Healthcare organizations use a whole stack of integrated systems, right? At the top level, there's the overall health information system, HIS, managing data across the organization.
Yes, the HIS is sort of the umbrella system, but certain departments, especially those that are very specialized or high volume, often need their own dedicated systems that feed into the main HIS.
And radiology is a prime example.
Radiology is the classic example. It's incredibly high volume, it deals with massive image files, and the workflow needs to be super fast and efficient. That's where you find the Radiology Information System, or RIS.
The RIS. What's its specific job?
Think of the RIS as the command center for the radiology department. It handles all the logistics around imaging.
Like what?
Okay, so an imaging order comes in from the main EHR. The RIS manages scheduling that exam. It tracks the patient as they move through the department, checking them in, noting when the scan starts and finishes. It handles the billing information specific to the radiology procedure. And crucially, it manages the reporting workflow.
Making sure the radiologist actually reads the scan and gets a report out.
Exactly. It ensures the radiologist dictates or types the interpretation, signs off on it, and that the final report gets delivered quickly and efficiently back to the doctor who ordered the scan, usually via the main EHR. It's indispensable for managing that complex workflow.
And the RIS usually works hand in hand with another system, right? For the images themselves.
Yes, typically coupled with a PASIS, which stands for Picture Archiving and Communication System. The PASIS is the specialized system designed to store, retrieve, and display those huge digital medical images. The X-rays, CT scans, MRIs. The RIS manages the workflow. The PASIS manages the images.
Got it. So it's this whole interconnected architecture of systems, HISI, EHR, RIS, PECS, all built on that foundation of well-managed data from HIM that allows these informatics professionals to start doing really powerful analysis.
Precisely. And this highly structured, digitized environment sets the stage perfectly for the next major evolution in healthcare strategy, which is the widespread application of artificial intelligence, or AI.
AI. It's everywhere now. How does it fit into this HIM and informatics picture?
Well, the sources we reviewed point out that AI isn't just some future sci-fi concept in healthcare. It's already being used as a practical tool. And it's specifically supporting 3 key goals within this informatics framework, really changing how decisions can be made.
Okay, let's hone in on those 3 goals. They really show AI's potential when you feed it all this high-quality structured data that HIM works so hard to ensure. First, AI helps with the reduction of errors.
This is one of the most immediate benefits. AI algorithms can be trained to do things like sophisticated checks on documentation completeness and consistency much faster and potentially more accurately than human auditors.
Give me an example.
Okay, maybe a doctor enters a complex diagnosis into the EHR, but they forget to document a key finding or a comorbid condition that's really important for justifying that diagnosis or the chosen treatment. An AI tool integrated with the EHR could potentially flag that omission instantly.
So it catches documentation gaps that could lead to problems later, like claim denials or even clinical issues.
Exactly. Reducing those kinds of errors is a huge win for efficiency and safety.
Okay, error reduction is one. The second goal gets right to the heart of medicine. AI supporting more precise diagnoses.
This is a really exciting area, especially in fields like radiology and pathology. AI algorithms can analyze medical images like CT scans or digital pathology slides and detect subtle patterns or anomalies that might be missed by the human eye, especially when a radiologist or pathologist is reading hundreds of images a day.
So it's like a second pair of eyes, but tireless.
Kind of, yeah. And it's not just the image. The AI can integrate that visual analysis with other structured data from the patient's EHR, their age, their lab results, medication history, family history.
Combining different data points.
Right, combining it all to potentially increase diagnostic accuracy, maybe catch diseases earlier, and help clinicians choose the most targeted treatments faster.
Very powerful. Okay, and the third goal you mentioned sounds maybe the most transformative for how we approach care. AI enabling the ability to view a patient holistically. What does that mean?
This really feels like the culmination of all this effort in HIM and informatics. Viewing the patient holistically means AI can synthesize information from across that longitudinal health record we talked about, the MPI, the H&P, all those ancillary reports, the problem list, medication history, maybe even genetic data or social determinants of health data if available.
Pulling it all together.
Pulling it all together and maybe comparing it against vast data sets of similar patients. From that, AI can run predictive models. It could, for instance, calculate an individual patient's personalized risk score for developing a certain complication, like sepsis, or their likelihood of being readmitted to the hospital soon after discharge.
So it's moving beyond just treating the current problem.
Exactly. It allows clinicians to shift from just reacting to today's symptoms to developing a proactive, comprehensive strategy tailored specifically to that patient's complete data profile and predicted future risks. It's about leveraging all the available information to generate deep insights that genuinely improve care quality and patient safety. That's the ultimate promise here.
Wow, that was quite a journey. We started with just the sheer amount of data from one simple healthcare visit, and we've really traced it through this incredibly complex but absolutely essential architecture that keeps it all organized, legal, and actually useful. We really defined health information management, HIM, as that bedrock profession, the guardians ensuring those four pillars: availability, accuracy, confidentiality, and security for every single patient record.
Mm-hmm. And we saw how critical that high-quality documentation is, how it gets immediately translated into the financial engine, the revenue cycle. That relies on those universal, super-specific languages. CPT codes for what was done, ICD-10 CM codes for why it was done.
Right, all held together by that crucial concept of proving medical necessity to actually get paid.
Exactly. Then we layered on the legal framework, HPAA, making that key distinction between the privacy rule, who gets to see what and why, and the security rule, which covers the technical defenses needed to protect the data.
And how HIPAA, counterintuitively maybe, also enabled better data flow through standardization, which is fundamental for interoperability, letting different systems talk to each other, often via infrastructures like the Health Information Exchange, the HIE, which is so vital for continuity of care.
And finally, we shifted to health informatics, taking all that well-managed, secure data and actively using it, leveraging advanced tools like specialized systems like the RIS in radiology managing workflow and harnessing the power of AI.
Yeah, AI working towards reducing errors, enabling more precise diagnoses, and ultimately helping clinicians view the patient holistically by synthesizing their entire medical story in real time. It really drives home that the quality, the safety, the continuity of care you receive, it's totally inseparable from the quality, availability, and integrity of your health record behind the scenes.
It truly is all connected.
So for you, the listener, what's the big takeaway? It's that the excellent clinical care we all expect depends entirely on this often invisible but meticulously managed data infrastructure. Now, building on all that, here's a final provocative thought for you to chew on. We highlighted how AI supports precise diagnoses and that holistic patient view. And that requires pulling together data from everywhere using that seamless interoperability we discussed, maybe through things like HIEs. So as these health information exchanges get better and data flows more freely between organizations, and as AI gets even hungrier for more comprehensive data to make those holistic assessments, what new pressures does this put on HIM professionals? What new ethical tightropes do they have to walk?
That's a really critical question.
Yeah, they're constantly trying to balance this push for using more data more holistically, which AI needs for better diagnostics and predictions, against the absolute legal necessity of protecting patient privacy under HIPAA's rules, especially the privacy rules constraints on data use and disclosure. How do you maximize the benefit while minimizing the risk?
It really is the central tension in modern health informatics, isn't it? Leveraging incredible technological power for the greatest possible good while fiercely protecting that fundamental patient trust and privacy. It's a massive challenge, and how we navigate it will absolutely shape the future of healthcare administration and practice for years to come. Definitely something to think about until our next deep dive.